I was 72 when the package arrived. No return address. Just a battered brown box with foreign stamps and a faint smell of old metal. My wife thought it was junk mail. I knew better. It came from Russia. Inside was a small velvet pouch, and in that pouch, a silver locket, slightly tarnished, cold to the touch. I hadn't seen it in nearly 40 years. I sat down hard in my kitchen chair, heart pounding like a drum line. Because I buried this locket in the snow outside Leningrad in 1944. With her, back then, I was Sergeant Paul Ackerman, a 313th Infantry Regiment, U.S. Army, attached to the Red Army's Northern Front for a short-lived joint operation we weren't supposed to talk about. They paired me with a Soviet scout, a woman named Anya Petrovna, barely 20, smarter than anyone I knew. She spoke 4 languages and could shoot a rifle better than most of our officers. And I got her killed. It was a botched recon mission, 2 clicks from the German line. We were discovered, took fire from a machine gun nest in a barn. I went down. She dragged me into a ditch, then charged ahead alone to draw fire. By the time I caught up, the barn was on fire. Anya was inside. I never found her body. Just her locket in the snow. I took it. A piece of guilt to carry home. Now here it was again. I opened it with shaking fingers. Inside, a faded photo of her face, but now there was a second photo on the other side. A boy, maybe 10 years old, with my eyes, and a note, folded small, in slanted Cyrillic handwriting. He wants to meet you. I hadn't spoken Russian in decades, but the words on the note were simple, heartbreaking, clear. He wants to meet you. I didn't tell my wife. How could I? How do you explain that you might have a son from a war you never fully spoke about? From a woman you left behind not by choice, but by fire and death? I spent the night at the kitchen table, staring at the locket, and the boy's face. He looked maybe 10 in the photo, which made no sense. The war ended in 2045. That child should be pushing 50. Unless the photo wasn't from the past, unless it was recent. The next morning, I went into the attic, dug out a box marked Europe. Things I hadn't looked at since the 62nd. A field map, a blood-stained scarf, and my journal. The 2nd of March, 1944. My last entry in Russia. Anya didn't scream. She just ran. I don't know why I didn't follow her faster. Maybe I knew what would happen. But now, I wondered if I'd been wrong. About all of it. I took the note to a friend, a Russian professor at the university where I'd once lectured. He translated the backside. His name is Alexei. He's your son. He was born November 1944. I raised him with love. I never told him you were dead, because I never believed you were. No signature, just a phone number, with a Moscow code. I stared at that number for 3 days before dialing. A man answered. Deep voice, careful. Alexei? I asked. Silence. Then, yes. Is this Paul? I hadn't heard my name said like that in a long time. The conversation was short. We both stumbled over words. My Russian was broken. His English was better, much better. I have questions, he said. I have regrets, I replied. He told me he was coming to the States. He wanted to meet, in person. I agreed. What else could I do? I had survived bullets, shrapnel, malaria, but nothing ever scared me like waiting to meet the ghost of a life I never lived. 2 weeks later, I stood at gate 17 of Dulles Airport, heart pounding, fingers clenched around a locket. And then I saw him. Tall, gray at the temples, military posture, a kind smile under wary eyes. He walked toward me slowly. We didn't speak right away. He looked down at my hand. You kept it, he said. I nodded. He reached into his coat and pulled out something small. A medal. Russian. Faded. "She kept this," he said. "It was yours." And just like that, the war felt both closer and finally over. We spent the first day in silence more than speech. Alexei had brought photos. Dozens. His mother at different ages. A few of him in uniform. He had served too, in the Soviet Navy during the 82nd. The irony was not lost on either of us. "She never remarried," he said. "She believed you were alive, somehow. She just knew." I couldn't speak. My throat locked up. All I could do was nod and look at the face I had seen only once, under fire and fear, and now saw again older, lined, but with her eyes. He stayed for a week. We walked. We listened to music. He cooked me Russian dishes from his childhood. I tried not to break every time he said "father" in his accented voice. On the last night, he asked what had happened. "Did she die?" he said quietly. "Or did she leave you?" I told him the truth. "I thought she died. I saw the barn burn. I thought it was my fault. I carried that guilt for a lifetime." He looked down, hands clasped. "She made it out, crawled through the back, burned but alive. A farmer found her, hid her in his basement. By the time she recovered, your unit was gone." I felt dizzy. The version of history I'd carried for decades cracked open like glass. She waited in that town for 3 months. Then she knew she was pregnant. She went home, raised me alone. "She never hated you," she said. "War steals people in strange ways." We sat in silence after that. Before he left, he gave me a small box. Inside was a faded photo. Anya, holding a baby, smiling, and a letter, written in English. It began, "If you're reading this, it means I was right. You lived." She forgave me. I cried for a long time that night. For her. For the man I might have been. For the years lost between two sides of a wall neither of us built. Alexei and I still speak. He calls once a week. We're slowly learning how to be father and son in the late chapters of a story that began in the ruins of war. I keep the locket by my bedside now. Not as a reminder of guilt, but of second chances. Because sometimes, history isn't a book you finish. Sometimes, it's a letter returned by the wind unopened, unexpected, and still waiting to be read.